Okay, so here we go. We are continuing to follow the RPC sermon series, this one leading up to Easter. Go ahead and lay down on your back, bend your knees, plant your feet, hip width apart. Maybe rest your hands on your belly so that you can be sure that as you inhale, it's filling, and as you exhale, it's gently pulling toward the spine. So the overall theme of this sermon series is taken from the Leonard Cohen song, Anthem. Ring the bell that still can ring, forget the perfect offering. The crack is where the light gets in. So what I love about this yoga practice is how many layers and levels it has. So if you are feeling tired or cranky or sore in a particular place in your body, that might be what you perceive as the crack. Or you could be holding concerns for a person or a group of people, and you might dedicate this practice to them for healing or positive energy. So one other thing from the sermon, well, there's a few things. But the pastor reminded us that we all have our own cross to bear. So my cross doesn't look like your cross, and none of us are required to carry the burdens that Jesus carried. So you might want to think today about what is yours to do in the world, and dedicate this practice to that. So whatever you decide, on an exhale, release your intention, trusting that it will be accomplished, and take your arms way out to the side so you can feel your chest start to open up a little bit. So simply inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Check in and make sure the back of your neck is nice and long, maybe tucking your chin a little bit. And then maybe taking your arms all the way overhead. So as you do that, you'll feel your shoulder blades adjust. So the wings of your chicken wings, bow outward a little bit. Maybe you could hold wrist to wrist or elbow to elbow. Couple more breaths here. And then on an exhale, bring your arms back down by your side. Maybe already noticing a difference in how the body feels. You could continue to keep your eyes closed. Pull that low belly in and draw the knees towards the chest. Maybe holding the backs of the thighs or the shins. And go ahead and rock from side to side a little bit, nice and slowly, just moving with your breath. So I've got a reminder to go ahead and mute everybody. So you keep rocking and I'll do that. And then gently go ahead and plant your feet. So we're going to start to get our spine warm and engage our core. So with your palms facing down by your hips on inhale, take your arms overhead. And maybe the backs of your palms tap the floor behind you. Now on your exhale, pull your knees into your chest again, gently holding your thighs or your shins. Your next inhale is going to take your heels and fingertips to the ceiling like you're holding a box. And then exhale, knees into the chest again, gently holding the shins or the thighs. Then we're going to go back to our starting point. Inhale, plant your feet, take your arms overhead. We're going to do that a couple more times. Exhaling, knees into the chest. Inhaling, heels and fingertips to the ceiling. Exhaling, knees back into the chest again, just moving with the breath. So forward fold motion on the exhales and opening up on the inhales. Plant your feet, take your arms overhead. Nice. One more time. Exhale, knees into the chest. Inhale, extending the limbs toward the ceiling, heels and fingers. Exhaling, knees back into the chest. And then inhale, plant your feet, take your arms overhead. And then we're going to come back to that shape like we're holding a box. So exhale, knees into the chest. And inhale, take your heels and your fingertips to the ceiling. So I can't remember if we've done this recently, but the goal is to not compensate. So as we move limbs toward the floor, the ones that are still pointed toward the ceiling, you want to try not to bring them towards one another. So that would be compensating, like squishing the box. So try not to do that. On an exhale, drop your right leg. And on an inhale, pull it back up. And then do the same thing with the left leg. So paying attention to the ones that aren't moving and bring it back up. And take a breath. So you could keep your legs a little bit bent if that's hard on your back, or don't lower the legs so far. So now we're going to take the right leg and the left arm. So take the right leg down and the left arm overhead. Inhale, get really long, let it hover over the mat. And then exhale, bring the leg and the arm back up to the box. Inhale, left leg, right arm. Keep an eye on the ones that aren't moving. Make sure they're not compensating. And then exhale, come on back up. We're going to do that 2 more times to each side. Right leg, left arm. Inhaling down. Exhaling back up. It's also really good for the brain. And left leg, right arm. Already I can see my other limbs compensating, and exhale back up. So one more time, inhale, right leg, left arm. And exhale back up. And last one, left leg, right arm. And inhale back up. And exhale, draw your knees into your chest. Make some circles with your ankles. Good work. So any kind of cross body activity like that's really good for the brain. So switch the direction of your circles with your ankles. And then go ahead and plant your feet wide, so maybe you can feel the edges of your mat, and take your arms out to the side for support. And then on an exhale, drop your knees to the right. So one of the ways you can protect your knees is to keep your toes flexed back toward your knees. Right. Maybe you want to take your right heel and hook it over the left thigh. And then settle in so you get a deeper stretch on the left side of the body. If that doesn't work, that's okay. Don't do it. Maybe you take your left arm overhead and give a gentle tug on the wrist, getting even more of a stretch on the left side of the body. Just use your exhale to soften somewhere. And then release the heel if you had it on your leg, and come on back up to center. Maybe it would feel good to do a little bridge pose, just lifting your hips like an inch or 2 off the mat. And exhale, put them back down. And then with the feet still wide, flex your feet and take your knees over to the left. So we leave them here. Feel that stretch on the right side, the right thigh, the right hip area. And then staying in your twist, maybe taking that left heel and tucking it on top of the right thigh so you have a little weight holding your right thigh down. And then you could take your right arm over your head, maybe give a little tug. Feel those muscles around the ribs. And then gently release that and come on back to center. So we're going to reset our feet. So walk your heels a little bit closer to your hips if you can. And have your feet in line with your knees and your hips. And then on an inhale, lift your hips up toward the ceiling. So think about lifting your thighs, lifting your hip bones, lifting your ribs, but not using your glutes, the big muscles, your butt muscles. Try not to use those. Use your hamstrings instead. One of the ways you can feel that is to push into your heels and feel like you're dragging your heels toward your hips. And you'll fire up your hamstrings. You might not go as high. That's okay, it's better for your low back. One more breath. And exhaling, gently release. Nice. And then draw the knees into the chest again. Just so that we could roll to one side and come on up to all fours. Throw hands and knees, fingers spread really wide, right, like Spider-Man hands. Middle fingers pointing toward the front edge of your mat, and then check in with your feet and your shins and push your feet, tops of your feet and your shins into the mat, so nice and stable. And on an inhale, take your tailbone and the crown of the head toward the ceiling. And exhale, drop the tailbone. If it's okay with your spine, maybe let your head drop, hollowing out. Are you still rooting your feet and your shins? Inhaling again, gently arch. And exhaling, hollow out. Nice, let's do that one more time. Inhaling, gently arch. And exhaling, hollow out. So then we're going to make a big circle with our ribs. So on an inhale, you arch forward and toward your right shoulder. And on your exhale, pull back toward your right hip and hollow out. And circle around to the left hip. And then inhale forward toward the left shoulder. Around to the right shoulder. There's your cow shape. And then exhale, hollow out, right hip, left hip. Inhale, left shoulder, arch, right shoulder. So you're just rotating your rib cage in a circle. One more time. Inhaling toward the left, toward the right. Exhale back toward the right and toward the left. And then come on back to neutral. And just notice how that feels. And then we're going to go to the other side. So try not to overthink it, right? So inhale, gently arch toward the left shoulder. Then hollow out back towards the left hip. Moving the ribs, then over to the right. Then you inhale, gently arch toward the right shoulder. So make your circles. So we're going counterclockwise now. Just move in the rib cage. Shouldn't be any pain anywhere. So do that one more time. All the way around. And then come on back to neutral. Nice. And then go ahead and bring your right leg forward, so you might want to have a hold of the block. All right. So the sermon passage was the Mark passage where Jesus is he's foretelling his death, and Peter gets in the way and says, wait a minute, that's not what we had planned, right? Does the whole human, we were expecting a king, this is supposed to be a victory. And Jesus basically says, get out of the way. So I think in our yoga practice, sometimes we get in our own way, right? So use a prop. That's one way we can get out of our own way, is to make the practice easier, right? You can do this sitting in a chair if it bothers your knee, right? Just make the same shape. Your right hip would be on the chair. And maybe inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. And in the same way that we all have a different cross to bear, everybody is different, and every yoga pose is going to look different. So honor your own body. One more breath. And exhaling, gently pull in, releasing towards that front foot. And then we're going to bring that leg all the way back behind us. Heel in the air, toes pointing down. Take a breath here and maybe take the left thumb toward the ceiling. One more deep breath. Just gaze down at the space under your nose. And exhaling, gently release, rock the hips from side to side. So maybe you want to stay here in all fours and just take a couple breaths. Maybe you want to rock your hips back towards a child's pose. So I would recommend trying to keep your spine straight if you can, and not rounding in the low back especially. And if that means you rest your head on a block, there are 3 levels, low, medium, and high, right? So don't make it harder on yourself. Support yourself. We're going to be here for 3 breaths. One more deep inhale and exhale. And then come on back to all fours. And we'll bring that left foot forward in high lunge. Try and get your hips way low and forward. Right? And when you're nice and stable, you still push that back foot and shin into the mat for stability, right? Root down and then raise your arms up. Just find one place to rest your gaze. And on an exhale, gently release. So we make our spine super long as we bring our hands to the mat. We can move that left foot right back behind us for bird dog, right? Left toes pointing straight down, and then the right thumb is going to go to the ceiling. And then exhale, release the hand and the knee down. Take your hips from side to side a little bit. So we're going to come to standing through downward facing dog. Walk your hands forward about one hand length. And then bring your shoulders back over your wrists. Curl your toes under. Root the balls of the feet. Pull the low belly in and lift your hips up and back. Charge your ribcage toward your thighs. The knees do not have to be straight. More important to be one long line from your hips out through your wrists. Take one big breath here. And as you exhale, soften your knees and start to walk your feet toward your hands. So if you need to float your knees down and bring one leg forward, that's okay. Or come to hands to a block or 2 blocks or the chair. Right? Just get there safely. And then soften the knees. Rest your hands on your hips. Right? And come on up to standing. Try and keep the knee right over the ankle. Okay. When you get there, inhale, take your arms up overhead. And we're going to interlace our hands. And then release your index finger. I'm going to turn forward so you can see me. I've still got my feet about 2 fist widths apart. Get really, really tall. And exhale over to one side. So the bottom half of the body is rooted. And the top half of the body is just gently flowing. Inhale through center and exhale to the other side. Do that 2 more times each side, just moving with your breath. One shoulder stacked right over the other as you go sideways. So no folding forward, no folding backwards, feet rooted. One more time each side. And inhaling, come on back up to center, and exhale, bring your hands to your heart. So we're going to do a little balance thing, like a dynamic flow, kind of opening the hips. So you definitely want to be holding onto the wall or a chair, if that's helpful for you, right? So you're going to start by lifting your right knee up, just like a lowercase h. The ankle's just hanging right under the knee. On an inhale, you're going to take the knee out to the side. Still standing tall on my left leg. But then on exhale, you're going to sit into that left heel and turn the right knee inward. Right, so use your focal point on something that's not moving. And then inhale, take the knee out. So it's like you're making a little figure 8 with the knee. Exhale, soften in. Inhale, knee out. Exhaling, soften in. One more time. Inhale, knee up and out. Exhale, soften in. Pretty challenging. And come on back to Tadasana. Go ahead and walk it out. Take a breath. Maybe come back to that intention that you set. Remember to honor your own body. So root that other foot, lift the opposite knee. Once you've got yourself stable, inhale, take the knee up and out. And exhale, turn it in as you gently soften the standing knee. And inhale, get tall and long, knee out. And exhale, down and in. Just gaze at one thing that's not moving, so not me. Inhale, knee up and out. Exhale, down and in. One more time. Inhale, knee up and out. And exhaling down and in. And come on back to Tadasana. Well done. If you were holding your breath, then you were working too hard. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of a straddle here and do a goddess pose. So another hip opener. So my heels are wider than shoulder width, right? You just start with your hands on your hips. My toes are pointed diagonally outward. You want your knees to go right out over the middle of your foot. So no rolling in on the arches, right? Turn your toes in a little bit more if you need. So we're just going to soften down into this goddess pose. And inhale, go ahead and straighten. Squeeze your inner thighs together as you come up. Exhaling, soften. Inhaling, straighten. Exhaling, soften. Inhaling, straighten. Some side dynamic motion, and then we're going to become static. So soften down into that goddess pose. Maybe take your arms out to the side. And then maybe turn your palms facing your ears. So stay right here, knees drawing to the back side of the body as much as you can. Heart open, elbows drawing back, jaw soft. One more deep exhale, maybe go a little lower. Nice, and then inhale, go ahead and straighten into 5-pointed star. Right, so fingers reaching out, feet rooting down, crown of the head rising. Nice. And then heel toe your way in so that your feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. So we're going to do a forward fold here. I want you to do it with a flat spine. So actually I'm going to kind of turn diagonally so you can see me sort of sideways and sort of forward. So inhale, get really, really tall. Exhale, spread your toes wide, root your feet, and fold yourself forward. See if you can get your spine parallel to the ground. So if you need to soften your knees to do that, that's okay, right? You can have your blocks handy or a chair. Then on inhale, work on lifting your hips, reaching the crown of the head out long, so a half forward fold. And if it's okay with your body, like no uncontrolled high blood pressure, no eye issues like glaucoma, allow your head to hang all the way like a rag doll. Knees can still be a little bit soft. One more deep exhale here, or maybe nod your head yes. Shake your head no. Forward folds are great to do at the end of the day. Engaging the parasympathetic side of the central nervous system. So soften your knees and start to raise your head back level with your heart. We're going to come up nice and slowly. So I'm sitting down into my heels. Bring your hands to your thighs. Draw those elbows back. On your next inhale, start to bring your shoulders over your hips. Take your fingers up in the air again. And exhale your hands to your heart. So we're going back basic the same place, but then we're going to stretch our IT band, the outside of the leg. So inhale, take your hands back to your hips, lift your chest. Exhaling, folding forward. So the goal here, you come to your blocks, or maybe rest your hands on your thighs or your shins. So the goal here is going to be to keep the right leg straight and soften your left knee just a little bit. So you load the body weight onto your right leg. And then see if you can rotate your rib cage toward your right knee. And you should feel it from below the right knee all the way up maybe to the hip. So this is kind of a subtle motion, but see if you can keep that right leg straight. And then kind of like we moved the rib cage around, just move the body weight around your foot. Like toward the big toe, then toward the pinky toe, then back toward the heel, and a little circle. And just notice where you feel that in your leg. So big stabilizers, the IT band. We've got to keep them stretched out too. Good, and then come on back to neutral. Soften the knees for just a minute, maybe bending and straightening. And we're going to do that IT band stretch right on the other side. So to do that, you're going to lift your hips, try and straighten your left leg. Load the body weight onto the left leg. See if you can rotate your rib cage more toward that left knee. And then maybe shift the weight around that foot. Going in a little circle. Big toe, pinky toe, heel. Very subtle motion. So if you don't feel anything in the outside of the left leg, try and lift your hips more, straightening the leg more. Push your big toe into the mat. And then exhaling, soften, come back to center, drop your hips again, coming up again nice and safely, right? So take a couple of breaths here with the head in line with the heart. Maybe your fingertips come to the locks. And then bring your hands to your thighs, drop your tailbone, come on back to standing. Bring your hands to your heart center. Maybe close your eyes and take a breath. Good. And then take a big wide straddle. Right? So again, you could do this holding onto a chair or backed up against the sofa or a wall. Just want to make sure you're nice and stable. I'm going to turn right toes out. Heel to arch alignment, right? So for warrior two, we do a little bit of a flow here. So as you exhale, take that right knee right over the middle of the foot. You should still be able to see your big toe. You might want to take your left heel away from you a little bit. So your hips might not be pointing all the way, or all the way straight. You could relax a little bit today and just have them pointing a little bit diagonally. Right. So inhale, straighten that front leg. Exhale, knee out over the middle of the foot. One more time, inhaling, straighten. Exhale, knee out over the middle of the foot. And then today, take your arms out to the side, palms facing up. So firm up your shoulder blades. And when you turn your palms down, try not to move anything but the hands. So you keep the soft part of the elbow shining upward as much as you can. It kind of keeps the chest open. So relax the left hand on your thigh, turn the right palm up again, and draw a line up the wall toward the ceiling. And take a breath there. And keep that right palm facing the ceiling. Come back to warrior two. Release your right arm, turn that palm facing up. So this is going to be kind of challenging, but try it. It's like extended side angle where we're not going to rest our arm on our thigh. See if you can bring the left arm to meet the right. And keep your chest shining open. Takes a ton of core strength, right? And then come on back up to warrior two and turn those toes in and take a breath. All right. So remember what is yours to do. Take care of your body. Turn the other toes out. Maybe pigeon toe that opposite heel. And inhale, get tall. And exhale, knee right out over the middle of the foot. So one more time. Inhale, get tall. And exhale, bend the knee. And then take your arms out, palms facing up again. And then keep the upper arm nice and firm and just rotate the hands back down. Then float that back arm to the thigh. Turn the front arm palm facing up again and draw that line at the ceiling. Just feel nice and light and open in the upper body, lower body firm. Come back to warrior two, palms facing up. See if you can take extended side angle, just using the upper body. Right arm comes to meet the left. And then inhale, come on back up, nice. Turn the toes in. And we're going to safely heel toe our way in, right? So not crunching the sacroiliac joint at all. Beautiful. So now traditional tree is going to feel super easy, right? You're nice and strong and hips are open. So I'm going to take my right knee maybe to the calf. Maybe you take it above the knee, just no weight in the knee, right? So use your drishti, your focal point, something that's not moving. And maybe grow your tree some way. Taking the arms up. Remember, it's just a practice. Nice. And when you're ready, come on out of it. And every day is different, right? So again, don't make it too hard on yourself. Use a chair or the wall or something. When you're ready, we'll go to the other side. So one of my favorite yoga sayings is, it's not the body that's stuck, it's the mind that's stuck. We get in our own way. Maybe grow your tree. Remember, there's no such thing as perfection in your practice. It's all about the cracks. And when you're ready, exhale, gently release. Nice. Alrighty, come on back to the front of your mat. Stand in Tadasana one last time. And then on an inhale, take your arms up overhead. Soften the knees and gently swan dive forward. Maybe hanging like a rag doll if that's okay with your body, letting your hands drop. So grabbing hold of a block or two if it's helpful. Doesn't matter which leg you take back. Take one leg way back in high lunge. Front knee stays over the ankle, right? And then just float that back knee down. Come on back to all fours. We're going to do an easy seated side twist. So drop to one hip. The feet go out to the other side, right? If your hips are tight, you might need to sit up on a block. Just put that one hip on a block. Right, so we want to keep the pelvis perpendicular, no rolling onto the tailbone. Get really, really tall, and exhale, twist away from your feet. Gazing over that back shoulder. Just follow your breath. If the mind wanders, just let the thoughts go like puffy clouds floating by. On an inhale, get taller. On an exhale, maybe deepen the twist a little bit more. And then release back to front. And we're going to take that top leg and just cross it over. Easy seated pose. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see me, or actually maybe I'll do diagonal again. So easy seated pose. We do not want to curl under onto our tailbone. We want to stay tall. Tilt the pelvis forward and walk your hands out. So you're going to feel this mostly in the outside of the hip of the leg you have in front. Maybe it would feel good to rock from side to side a little bit. Try and keep your spine straight. Back of the neck long, it's just an extension of the spine. Maybe on an exhale, you can go a little bit deeper. Then use your hands to walk your shoulders back over your hips. Go ahead and plant your feet right out in front of you. Hold your backs of your thighs. If you have a block, go ahead and lift your chest. Put that block in between your knees, like the narrow way, right? So for a few breaths, we're going to keep our chest lifted. On an exhale, we're going to squeeze that block in between our knees. Keep the feet rooted. And on your inhales, just relax. So you really can't even see the motion, right? Exhaling, just squeeze that block. Use the inner thighs. And inhaling, straighten. So these muscles that are close to the center of our body are the ones that help us balance, and we need to get them strong. Exhale, squeeze the block. Inhaling, relax. 2 more times. Exhale, squeeze the block with your knees. Keep your chest lifted. Inhaling, relax. Root your feet 1 more time. Exhale, squeeze. And inhale, relax. Release the block and then take your feet to the other side for that easy seated twist. Sit up really tall first. Sit on a block if it's helpful. And exhale, twist away from your feet. One more. Get tall on the inhale, deepen on the exhale, and then release. And take that leg that's on top and gently swing it around so that you're in a nice, easy seated pose. And once you've gotten nice and tall and your weight is well centered, walk your hands forward. Keep your spine long. You'll feel this in the other hip now, right? Maybe close your eyes. And your next exhale, maybe going a little bit deeper. And then use your hands to walk yourself back up, shoulders over the hips. We're going to come down to all fours. Come onto all fours and then down onto our belly. So you could do that through a little chaturanga push-up. Take your arms forward, hands forward, shoulders over the wrists. One long line from the knees out through the crown of the head, and then squeeze the elbows towards one another. And slowly exhale down. Try and keep your hips up till last. Nice. So when you get there, make a pillow for your head with your hands. And ballerina point your toes. And on an inhale, you're going to squeeze your inner thighs together and lift your heels, but keep your legs straight. So they might only come up, those heels might only come up like, 1/4 of an inch. It's okay. Reach the balls of the feet away from your hips. Relax the upper body. Try and keep the pinky toes pointing down towards the mat. So the thigh bones are rotating inward. And then exhaling, gently relax the legs, bend the knees, and slowly windshield wiper from side to side. And then let the legs drop again. Realign the knees and the feet right in line with the hips. Push those tops of the feet into the mat and gently come up onto your elbows for a Sphinx Pose. So a nice gentle back bend. My elbows are right under my shoulders. Palms are facing down. Try and make that space between your shoulders and your ears even longer. And maybe you isometrically draw your elbows back towards your waist, getting a little more opening in the front of the rib cage. Keep pushing those feet into the mat. And on an exhale, gently release those elbows out and make that pillow for your head with your hands again. Take a couple breaths. Okay, so next we're going to do an easy quad stretch, front of the thigh. So you're going to just roll onto one side, right? So take that bottom arm and cradle your head with your bottom arm. You could keep the bottom leg a little bit bent for stability. Draw your knee toward your chest. See if you can run your hand down your shin, and then take your knees back together, right? So we're pushing that hip point forward like a headlight. Knees stay in line, so we're not letting the knees splay out. If you can't keep a hold of your foot, grab your pant leg, or maybe grab a hand towel or a yoga strap. Just want to feel it in the front of the thigh here. Again, you could close your eyes. This would be the opposite of sitting in a chair all day. And then gently release the foot. Bring the knees together and draw the knees up towards your chest a little bit more. We'll just do a nice easy shoulder stretch to finish. Bill Cox will be doing these again in no time. So you're going to think of your top hand as like the hand on a clock, top arm. You want to sweep it forward, up, around. So try and keep it as close to the ground as you can. We're staying on our side. Exhaling down by the hip. Inhaling up and around. Exhaling down by the hip. Do that one more time. Inhaling up and around. When you get down by your hip, we're going to reverse directions, right? So inhale, go the other way. Exhaling down. 2 more times in this direction. Really let the arm do the work. Let it be really heavy. And release and take a breath. So you can just roll back onto your belly safely, mindful of the transitions, and get ready to stretch the other quadricep. So rolling onto the other side. I'm going to flip myself around so that I don't have my back to you. Hopefully you didn't lose my sound just then. So cradling the head and the bottom arm, bottom knee a little bit bent, so you can find that shin, and then the foot of the top leg. Bring the knees back together. You might notice a difference from one side to the other, right? So effort where you need, but try and relax everything else. Like there shouldn't be any tension in the shoulders, or the jaw, or the bottom leg, or the rib cage, or the eyebrows. Couple more breaths here. And then to gently release, pull that low belly in, let go of the foot, bring the knees a little bit closer to the chest. To do that easy shoulder stretch on the other side. So take the arm forward and up on your inhale. Let it be super heavy as you exhale it down behind you. Try and keep it straight. Do that 2 more times in this direction. So the slower you go, the more you're going to feel it. No need to rush. Rushing is just another form of getting in our own way. So after you finish your 3rd circle in this direction, when you exhale down by your hip, get ready to reverse. Inhale up and around behind you. And exhale forward and down. And 1 more, inhaling up and around. And exhaling down. So when you finish that, Safely roll yourself back onto your back, adjusting your hips. Check in with your body and see if there's any other pose it might be asking for. Maybe one last bridge pose, lifting your hips. Or maybe one last gentle twist. Or maybe it would just feel good to curl yourself into a little tiny ball, holding your shins. So just take 3 or 4 more breaths to finish up your practice. Be some kind of a modified happy baby. Let your knees go wide. As you finish up, recall that intention that you set, and then let that go. Feel the back of the neck really long, and if it's okay with your body, stretch your legs out. Let the toes flop open. Tuck your shoulder blades together. Try and lay palms facing up if you can. Get any props out of the way so nothing's touching your body. And simply follow your breath. Just being fully present to yourself. Do a body scan, starting at the crown of your head. Feel the lightness there in the back of your skull, heavy, completely supported by the earth. Back of the neck long. Feel those shoulder blades in contact with the ground, completely supported. Backs of the ribs dropping into the mat. Belly simply rising and falling. Exhaling, grounding into the hips. Also completely supported. Thighs melting toward the mat. Calves heavy. Feet relaxed. And then decide how you'd like to get moving again. Maybe it's wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe it's making fists or flexing your toes back towards your knees or ankle circles. Do whatever feels right for you so that eventually you can draw your knees in. You could stay laying on your back for a couple of moments. You could roll to your right side and cradle your head in your bottom arm. So just remembering the crack is where the light gets in. And try and stay out of our own way. Do what is ours to do. And as it says in Micah chapter 6, verse 8, what does the Lord require of us? To act justly, to love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. When you're ready, slowly and gently pushing yourself up to seated if you haven't already. I invite you to keep your eyes closed. Just for these last couple of breaths, tuning into the sensations of your body and feeling your spine nice and long, energized. On an inhale, bring your hands to your heart center. On an exhale, bow your head to your own heart. Give yourself a mental pat on the back for showing up, taking care of yourself so that you can be your best for others. The spirit in me honors the spirit in each of you. Namaste.